I used to think the worst thing about working nights was the silence between radio calls. But lately, I find myself replaying a sentence from my incident report, one I didn't write. It ends with a phrase I never use. And now I wonder, who else had my words in their mouth? Before I share what happened next, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. It started the way most betrayals do, slowly, with a kind of erosion you don't feel until the ground shifts beneath you. I've been a correctional officer at Monroe Correctional for 11 years. I'm not the kind who cracks under pressure. I know how to read the room, how to spot when someone's faking sleep or planning something. What I didn't know was that the person I should have been watching wasn't wearing a jumpsuit.
He wore the same uniform I did.
And for a while I loved him for it. His name was Marcus. We met during overnight rounds. Our shifts lined up, our breaks overlapped, and somewhere between stale coffee and shared cigarettes behind the admin building, we became something complicated. He had this easy smile that made you forget how grim the job really was. But Marcus was the kind of man who always left just a few inches of space, physically, emotionally. I used to tell myself it was just how he grew up. Now I think he was always leaving room for the light to slide in. At first, the signs were easy to miss. He'd ask to borrow my ID badge when his lanyard broke. Said it was just to get into the restricted console room, only for a minute. Then I noticed strange entries in the system logs. Login timestamps that didn't match my memory. Inmate activity notes I didn't recall entering. I chalked it up to sleep deprivation or system glitches. We've all been there. You second-guess your own memory because it's easier than assuming someone else is tampering with it. Then came the warning signs, the kind you only notice in hindsight. A supervisor pulled me aside about an inmate complaint, one I hadn't heard about. They said I authorized a phone call at 2:47 a.m. during lockdown. I didn't. My badge log confirmed it. Or so I thought. That night, when I got home, I checked my login history on the internal portal. There were 3 entries that week from terminals I never used. Different wings. One during a time I was verifiably on a camera break in Unit C. My gut clenched. It wasn't the mistake that scared me. It was the familiarity of the pattern. Because I'd seen it before. Back when my cousin Nikki lost her job at a bank. She'd been fired for transactions she didn't make. Turns out her ex had stolen her PIN. I helped her through it. I remembered the look on her face when she realized someone had used her trust as a weapon. Now I was staring at the same reality, dressed in my own badge. I didn't say anything to Marcus. Not yet. But I started testing things. I left my ID in my car for a shift. He noticed within an hour and casually asked, "You forget your badge again?" I hadn't told anyone. That moment stuck with me like a stone in my shoe. Small, but always pressing. Meanwhile, the creepy stuff started to pile up in ways I couldn't quite explain. I'd get texts from a number that wasn't saved, always short, always vague. Be careful who's in mirror. Your badge looks better on someone else. Still trust him. They stopped as suddenly as they began, but not before burrowing deep under my skin. I told myself it was just some inmate with a smuggled phone. It happens. But one of the messages came through just minutes after I passed Marcus in the hall. No one else was around. I checked my reflection in the camera dome, just to prove to myself I was still me. I tried reporting it to HR. Quietly. But I was told the digital logs were secure and final. That if someone made a mistake, it would show on their record. I wanted to scream. But instead, I started writing everything down. Every shift. Every weird login. Every offhand comment from Marcus that felt just a little too knowing. Then the system crash happened. 2 days before payday, a glitch in the logbook software triggered an investigation. Dozens of login histories had to be manually verified. I figured it was my chance to flag the inconsistencies. Instead, I was the one called into the office. They said there was a discrepancy in my entries. That I'd accessed solitary records during off hours. That one inmate had filed a complaint against me, using language pulled straight from an entry that had my name on it. But I hadn't been there. I knew I hadn't. Still, my login, my badge, my name were tied to the entry. And the system doesn't lie.
Unless someone tells it to.
I walked out of that meeting suspended. With pay, pending investigation. But we both know what that really means. They think I did it. Marcus didn't text. Didn't call. When I reached out, I got 3 dots for a second, then nothing. So I did something I wasn't supposed to do. I logged into the admin audit system using a dummy account I'd used back when I helped IT troubleshoot a hardware upgrade. Just once.
Just to see the log history.
That's when I saw it. 3 weeks ago, someone had changed my password, then changed it back the next day.
Not reset, changed.
Deliberately. Temporarily. And the change had come from Terminal 7B. Marcus's post. I sat there staring at the screen until my coffee went cold. If he'd done this, he hadn't just framed me. He'd practiced. He'd rehearsed. He knew what he was doing. And he wasn't done. When you're under investigation, the silence gets louder. Friends at work stop making eye contact.
Group chats go quiet.
Even the vending machine hum starts to sound accusatory. The only person who didn't change was Marcus. Because he disappeared. I used to get good morning texts, midnight memes, even voice notes. Nothing now. No calls. Not even a fake check-in. And still, I couldn't stop replaying that smile of his, the one that always felt too easy. What started as a suspicion had now sharpened into a pattern. But I didn't have proof. Not the kind HR wanted, and not the kind the union could act on. So I started gathering it myself. I knew where to look, because I knew Marcus. He wasn't sloppy, but he was predictable. Always kept a side hustle going. Dog breeding.
Crypto scams.
Flip phones sold for double on Craigslist. That meant digital breadcrumbs somewhere. I dug into an old backup drive where I'd saved work training manuals. Tucked between files, I found a folder labeled shift_swap_logs_2022, something Marcus had asked me to download for scheduling help. Inside were PDF exports of system access reports. My name appeared in a dozen logs, with timestamps that clashed with my own GPS data. One file showed me logged in from the South Hall terminal at 3:14 a.m. But I was home. My Venmo receipt showed I paid for insomnia meds at 3:16 a.m. That might not mean much to HR, but it meant everything to me. Because someone forged that login. Or used my badge to do it. The creepy part? One of the logs had been opened last week. The file path said it was viewed from a folder called Reference Material, Marcus/shared.
Shared?
With who? I didn't have access to that drive anymore, but the file activity history still lingered in metadata. And suddenly I felt sick. The day after, my mom called to say someone had stopped by her house, asking for me. She lives 3 hours away and never gives out my info. The man said he was from records. No badge, no card. Just asked if I still had access to private InSyn files. She thought he was weird. Said he smiled too hard. Wore a security jacket with no logo. You told me you gave all that up, she said. Why would someone drive out here for old shift notes? I didn't have an answer, but I started locking my bedroom door. That night, I went back to an old Facebook group we used to use for swapping overtime shifts. The posts were mostly dead now, replaced by a newer app, but I scrolled anyway. There it was. A screenshot Marcus posted 6 months ago, with the caption, "Guess who finally got system-level clearance?" It was my dashboard. My name in the upper corner. He claimed it was a joke. Said I wasn't on it. But I wasn't. And the comments? Man, you could start your own prison. Don't get caught, CO Marcus. Just wipe her logs and run. All laughed off. All time-stamped. And now all saved to my private drive. I emailed HR. Again. Included the screenshots, the file inconsistencies, the GPS data. I kept it calm. Professional. But I could tell by their reply, a single sentence, that they thought I was spiraling. We'll let the investigation play out, Officer Rowan. Officer Rowan. Not Carla. Not the woman who trained half the overnight staff. Not the one who took extra shifts when people no-showed holidays. Just another line item in a list of problems. It hurt, but not as much as what came next. 3 days later, I got a notification from my bank. New device sign-in. iPhone 13. Location, Atlanta, Georgia. I don't live in Georgia. I called immediately.
Froze my account.
Changed every password. But not before noticing 3 pending transactions. A background check service. A data broker site. A $4.99 charge to something labeled Call Mask Pro. It was too precise. Too surgical. Someone was covering their tracks. Or worse, preparing to become me in ways I hadn't imagined. That night, I couldn't sleep. I turned off my lights and sat in the living room, waiting, watching the ring feed on my TV screen like a movie. At 2:12 a.m., a notification buzzed. Motion detected. Front porch. No one rang the bell. No one knocked. Just movement. A blurry figure, standing too still. Facing the camera, head slightly down. Not close enough to trigger facial ID, but near enough to know they wanted to be seen. And just before walking away, they flashed something. A lanyard.
Shiny.
Reflective. I paused the clip.
Zoomed.
Enhanced. It was a Monroe badge.
Mine?
Maybe. But definitely not worn by me. I sent the clip to Internal Affairs. Their reply: "We're investigating all relevant footage. Please do not distribute the video externally." That's when I knew they were serious. Because now they had to admit something wasn't right. The next morning, Marcus was back on shift, laughing in the break room like nothing happened. I walked by, and he didn't even flinch. Didn't ask how I was doing. Didn't mention the investigation. Didn't offer a single word. But his phone was open on the table. I glanced.
À chat thread title alt-bacarla.docs.
My breath caught. I knew that title. It was the file I'd been building in secret, my notes, my logs, my timestamps. I never shared it. Not even with my mother. How did he know? There's a moment, just one, when the air changes. When something inside you goes still. Not from fear, but clarity. For me, it happened in the copy room. I'd requested temporary access to print files for my suspension review. HR approved it, but warned me not to interfere with active records. The room was empty when I arrived. Just the hum of the Xerox machine and a stack of toner boxes in the corner. But someone had left a flash drive plugged into the port. And curiosity, or maybe instinct, pulled me closer. The folder name?
Rauen Backups, alt.
I froze. That was my last name. And the word I'd only ever used in private, alt, for alternate narrative. My offline file. My evidence. I didn't open it.
Not there.
Not under cameras. I slid the drive out and tucked it inside my coat pocket. I didn't breathe right for the next 6 hours. At home, I booted up an old laptop I hadn't connected to Wi-Fi in 2 years.
No sync, no auto-scan.
Just cold storage. The flash drive contained 3 things. A folder called alt_Carla. A PDF titled confession_outline. A video file, proxycam, unit C, 0417, MP4. My hands trembled. The first folder was filled with screenshots of my real notes, rearranged, edited. Some pages looked exactly like my originals. Others had entire paragraphs added, with me supposedly admitting to password sharing, inmate bribery, even manipulating evidence. The document was built like a case file, as if I were preparing to confess. Like I'd just gotten tired of hiding and wanted to purge the truth. But none of it was mine. The metadata said it was last edited 2 days ago by a user logged in as mfieldsadmintemp. Marcus Fields. The PDF was even worse. A bullet-pointed list of fake confessions with lines like, admit emotional instability post-breakup with Marcus. Frame data theft as burnout-induced mistake. Include, I'm not proud of what I did in handwritten letter. He was scripting me, writing my downfall like it was a rehearsal, practicing my voice until he could be me, digitally and emotionally. And the video? It sealed everything. I opened the MP4 and immediately recognized the setting. Unit C, 4:17 a.m., a restricted corridor. The footage showed someone walking through the door, pausing at the terminal and typing in credentials.
Mine.
But the person wasn't me. Different build. Broader shoulders. Ball cap under the hoodie. Then, in the reflection of the control room glass, for half a second, his face turned. Marcus. It was blurry, low-res, but I'd know that jawline anywhere. The timestamp matched one of the system logs that had gotten me suspended. He wasn't just impersonating me.
He was documenting it.
Almost like he wanted to keep the footage for himself. I called the internal whistleblower hotline and uploaded the video anonymously. Then I waited. And waited. 2 days passed. Then 3. And finally, a message. Thank you for your submission. The footage has been escalated to the Internal Ethics Committee. Due to ongoing investigations, we cannot confirm any outcomes. No name. No follow-up. But something shifted at the facility. Marcus stopped showing up to morning briefings. Rumor was he'd taken emergency leave. No one said why. The official schedule called it a family emergency. But he was still active on WhatsApp. Still commenting on department Facebook posts. Still updating his Amazon wishlist. He hadn't gone far. Just underground. Then late one night, I received an airdrop request while stopped at a red light. M__F1 would like to share a file. I declined. It popped up again. Declined again. The light turned green.
I pulled over.
Another request. This time with a preview image. It was a blurry screenshot.
Of me.
From behind. Taken earlier that day, wearing a navy hoodie, holding a grocery bag outside my apartment. The timestamp? Today, 4:03 p.m. For minutes after I got home. I shut off Bluetooth and turned off my phone. But the damage was done. He wasn't just sabotaging my job anymore.
He was tracking my life.
I knew what I had to do. If the system wouldn't believe me, I'd make the truth undeniable. I booked a private digital forensics consultation. It cost me $645 I couldn't spare. But the analyst confirmed the file tampering and credential spoofing. He traced the flash drive's registry back to a device labeled MFAPad Pro. That, coupled with system logs and metadata timestamps, gave me the one thing I'd been missing. Proof. But even then, HR stalled. Said the investigation needed more context. Said chain of custody wasn't fully reliable. Said the whistleblower footage had been compromised by exposure. I was losing hope. Until I got the call. A new hire in the digital security division had reviewed the drive independently. She flagged it during a compliance audit. Apparently, Marcus had uploaded parts of the same folder to a public Dropbox link by mistake. It pinged their filters for confidential employee data. And that was enough. An internal memo went out. Marcus was placed on indefinite, unpaid leave. But no charges. No public reprimand. Just a quiet, administrative vanishing.
No apology. No acknowledgement.
Just absence.
But someone didn't get the memo.
Because last night, I got another ring alert. 2:03 a.m. This time, no one on the porch. But the camera had been tilted upward.
Facing the roofline.
Facing nothing. Just watching. Like it was trying to say, I still see you. And maybe he does. But so do I now. There's no real end to something like this. Not the kind with a verdict or a press release. Not when the weapon was a login screen and the wound was trust. But some stories don't need headlines. They need air. And silence, used right, can be louder than anything. After Marcus vanished from the schedule, things didn't magically get better. There was still an unspoken doubt in the air every time I walked into the admin building. Like I was a glitch that hadn't been fully patched. Some officers avoided eye contact. Others overcompensated with awkward kindness. But no one asked. Not directly. That's the thing about betrayal. People are scared to get too close to it. Like it's contagious. But slowly, I started to breathe again. I changed my routes to work. Changed my passwords. Deleted every photo of Marcus, even the ones buried in old Google albums I forgot existed. And I stopped trying to convince people who didn't want to be convinced. Instead, I focused on the file. The one Marcus had created to tear me apart. The alt_Carla folder. I printed every fake confession, every forged note, every manipulated screenshot. I marked each one with a red pen, writing the real version beside it, like annotations in a memoir someone else tried to write for me. And I uploaded all of it to a private blog.
Also.
No ads.
No bio.
Just the truth. with metadata and forensic receipts to back it up. The title? Digital Ghosting: How My Partner Tried to Delete Me from My Own Life. No names.
No departments.
But the people who needed to see it saw it. A week later, I noticed 3 things. Marcus's Venmo went dark. The union quietly removed his listing from the internal directory. A burner Twitter account started reposting my blog entries, tagging investigative journalists. I never claimed ownership.
Never needed to.
I didn't want revenge that left scorch marks. I wanted the kind that made people look twice. Around that same time, I started getting emails from other female officers. Not just at Monroe. Some from out of state. Different stories. Same patterns. One wrote, "Mine cloned my work reports. When I caught him, he said it was just a shortcut." Another, "I found my face in a facial recognition training dataset, tagged under his account." One simply wrote, "Thank you. I thought it was just me." That one stuck. Because that's exactly what Marcus wanted me to think too. That I was alone. That no one would believe me. That I'd make just enough noise to look unstable, but not enough to make change. He underestimated the quiet. I never got my full job back. Not in the same way. But I got offered a new role. Off-shift, digital integrity auditor. The irony wasn't lost on me. Now I check logs for a living. Now I spot the digital fingerprints people think they wiped away. Now I train new recruits on the red flags I once ignored. I still carry the badge. But it doesn't define me the way it used to. Now I know better. As for Marcus, last I heard, he moved 3 counties over. Started a cybersecurity consultancy. Registered under a different last name. But every so often someone sends me a tip. A LinkedIn post. A shady review. A job listing with way too much access for someone like him. And every time, I forward it. Not to HR. Not to the police. But to the anonymous whistleblower chain I built. The one that collects digital evidence, tags it by fingerprinted metadata, and quietly passes it to people who do listen. The same way I wish someone had done for me. Soft revenge isn't about destruction. It's about erasing the illusion they ever held real power. The other night, I got a ring alert again. 2:04 a.m. But this time no shadows.
No glints.
Just a new motion log. From a second camera I'd installed weeks ago, hidden behind a planter. It showed a man pausing at the curb. He looked up at my window, then turned, and kept walking. Maybe it was Marcus. Maybe not. But either way, he didn't come back. And for the first time in months, I slept. Thank you for listening. If this story made you think of someone, a shift partner, an ex, a workplace that took your silence as permission, you're not alone. Drop a comment below. Someone might need to read it.